Joint Budget and Finance Committee meeting. The time is 3:35 p.m. We will go ahead and start the meeting, and our chair will be joining us momentarily. At this time, Councilor Abbott, hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the minutes of the meeting from August 12th, 2024. Do you have any questions or a motion to approve?
Excuse me, I move approval.
Second, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Those minutes of August 12th, 2024 are approved. Are there any items, Mrs. Abbott, that you'd like to consider for consent?
Yes, ma'am. On page 2, item 6. On page 4, item 12. On page 5, items 13, 14, and 15. There weren't as many of them as I would have liked. And item 24 wasn't marked, but
I'm in agreement on that one.
that's the
24.
cemetery
Okay,
maintenance.
yes.
Okay, those are.
All
those
right.
are all.
So let's go back and recap. The suggested items for consent starts with item 6 on page 2. Items 13, 14, and 15 on page 5. And item 24 on page 9. And I second that motion for those items to be consented. All in favor, please say aye.
I move the consent agenda.
I second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. So those items have been approved for consent. If you were here for either of those items, please know that they have been approved, and we'll continue with the rest of the agenda. Starting with our first item is number 4 on page 4, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a funding agreement between the City of Birmingham and Food Plus Culture to promote and host its annual Food Cultural Festival in the City of Birmingham beginning on September 19th through the 22nd, 2024 at Pepper Place and other venues around the city, under which the city will sponsor food and culture, which is designed to celebrate the Magic City's dynamic culinary industry, perform a platform and a table where people come together to learn about the region's rich culture and discuss issues of deep cultural significance. In accordance with Amendment Number 772, the city will contribute up to $25,000 in financial incentives to host the event in Birmingham.
I move approval.
Second. All right, thank you. Hello, how are you?
Good afternoon. I'm Coriante Hauser, Service Deputy Director for the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. And I'm here to represent the Food Plus financial assistance. So as you said, it's a 5-day or 5 events in 4 days. Birmingham Museum of Arts, Pepper Place, and Sloss Furnace to celebrate our culinary scene. As everybody probably notes, this festival was named number 3 in Best New Festivals in 2023 by USA Today. So they'll have a lot of chefs from around regionally, but also as far as New York, North Carolina, DC, and Houston. So they have a lot of different chefs and those who are engaged in the culinary scene here in Birmingham between September 19th and September 22nd.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser. Mrs. Abbott, do you have any questions regarding this item?
What did you say the other venues were besides Pepper Place?
There's Birmingham Museum of Arts, Pepper Place, and Sloss Furnace.
Three locations.
Yeah.
And I assume that someone will be selling tickets?
Yes, the Food Plus organization will be selling tickets.
And do you know how much tickets cost?
I do not, but I think there are a variety of prices because you can come on one day or you can do all of them at once. So they're different tiers.
That's if you're very hungry. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. The only thing I wanted to add, you did say this festival was voted number 3 in the country. Is that throughout the United States or the Southeast?
Yeah, in the country. So USA Today, number 3 in Best New Festivals for 2023.
Perfect. And do we have any idea what the attendance was last year? I know it was a success, but I'm assuming it was a pretty.
I don't have that data in front of me, but I can get it.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I don't have any other questions. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. That item number 4 is approved. Thank you very much. The next item, number 5, is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute and deliver an agreement for services with Create Birmingham, Inc., under which Create Birmingham will provide professional services in attracting and developing film, television, commercial, music video, and other media productions that will have a significant impact in the city's local creative economy while raising Birmingham's national profile as a dynamic and hospitable place to do business. The city will provide financial incentives pursuant to Amendment Number 772 and an amount not to exceed $150,000 for a term of 1 year.
I move approval.
Second, all right, thank you very much. If you'll tell us a little bit about this and state your name.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Inman, and I serve as the Mayor's Office Accountant. And I have Create Birmingham before you. This is our annual funding for the organization, and it is for a 1-year agreement. And they provide production, professional services, musical, commercial, and videos for the city.
Very good. Any questions, Mrs. Abbott?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how do you measure their success? What criteria do we have for measuring, like whether we want to do this again next year?
As far as sometimes most of the organizations provide us reports of how the events are impacting the city.
Okay, but does the city have like a goal of, say, 5 movies and 3 musical videos? And do we have any goals for this money, or do we just have hopes and dreams?
Usually they provide us a scope of services of what the events and what they're planning on bringing to the city, and then it's reviewed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Madam Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you so much. My only question I did receive, I know that one of the things that this organization does help us with, there's a community arts grant program. I believe we each put a representative from each district. Are you familiar with that as a function of
But
this?
I actually should have a representative here from Create Birmingham. Is someone here? Guess not.
Okay. Well, if not, I do know that we have a deadline by August 30th to submit those. So I just wanted to kind of get a more idea of other things that they're doing, as well as trying to promote the film industry. But that's my only question, Madam Chair.
Okay, and I know you guys have a calendar,
Correct.
right? Okay. Where can you remind us where we can get the calendar or how we can access this? I know y'all did a long time ago.
Birmingham365.org.
Birmingham 365. Okay. Okay. Do y'all have?
And
any
we
other
had a second and a motion.
questions? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is, what's the next item? 6, number 6. This is, no, number 7. This is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with AG Gaston Boys and Girls Club to give support and coordinate goods and services for the care of the poor and needy through community outreach programs and educational enrichment programming during out of school time and during the summer for a period of 1 year, and an amount not to exceed $10,000.
Second.
Okay, Jeff?
Madam Chair, there's some questions in particular.
Yes, Madam Pro Tem, did you have any questions?
Well, I just noticed that this was a funding source of District 8. So that was my only question. I didn't see it didn't make note of it on the agenda. That's my only question.
Thank you.
Council Abbott?
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. That item passes. Next item is item 8. Okay. Now, item 8 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a funding agreement between the city and the Regional Planning Commission of Greater Birmingham, under which they will assist the city with applications for federal, state grants, provide multi-jurisdictional planning for comprehensive land use, corridor, and strategic development, provide long-range programs and planning, including urbanized area and greenway plans. They will also assist the city with GIS, data development, analysis, and deployment assistance for a term of 1 year, and an amount not to exceed $128,403 for the services provided.
I move approval. Second.
Okay, Chief,
Any questions at the council?
is there any questions that we have? Is there somebody here?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? It's okay.
But this is our annual renewal that we do with the RPC every year.
Okay, gotcha. Council Abbott?
Yeah, I do have a question. The funding source, Alabama Ballet, can you explain that?
That's a misprint. That's a misprint.
It's just an
Yeah.
accident.
It's an actual line item in the general fund budget for the RPC. We'll get that corrected when it goes to the
Well,
council.
yeah, I know it's a line, it just that, it was the Alabama Ballet that confused me.
Yeah.
We'll get that corrected.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
Madam Pro Tem, same thing?
Same question,
Okay,
yes, thank
well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Next item is item number 9, a funding agreement with Jefferson County Greenways Commission, an agency of the state under which the city will make an appropriation to Jefferson County Greenways Commission, an amount not to exceed $250,000 to support the operations of Red Mountain Park. The term of the agreement will continue through June 30th, 2025.
What was the item?
Second.
Okay. Chief, I think, Carly, do you want to come up, and Leah? Anybody else?
Good afternoon. I'm Carly Sanford. I'm the Executive Director of the Greenways. And I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce y'all to Fran Marks. He is our,
Can you
Pull it
pull
a
up
little bit.
the,
okay, he is our newly hired park superintendent. He started this past spring and is learning all of the parks and has been spending a lot of time out at Red Mountain. So I wanted to just take a moment and introduce y'all.
Perfect.
This is Fred. Do y'all have any questions?
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to be before you. Again, truly excited and happy to be here. I couldn't have asked for a better place to be. Thanks to the team for bringing me on board, so thank you.
Okay, Madam Pro Tem?
Well, thank you very much. Welcome to D7 in Red Mountain Park. So thank you very much. And Leah, it's good to see you back there. Of course, I'm very excited for the support for Red Mountain Park. They're very good neighbors and a great source of getting residents out to enjoy the green spaces that are there. So I'm just excited to see the support. Thank you.
Yeah, same. Council Abbott?
yes, ma'am. I should know the answer to this question, but I don't. The Jefferson County Greenways Commission, how many different greenways is it over?
Right now, we've got 3. So we have Ruffner Mountain, Red Mountain Park, and Turkey Creek Nature Preserve. They've been defined as green spaces that are large acreage and regional in who they serve. So they're not the responsibility of any one city. This change and transformation has been 4 years in the making, which is, as of last fiscal year, the first time the county is now supporting through their general budget. So the city of Birmingham, Jefferson County, the state of Alabama, the cities of Homewood, Pinson, and Irondale are all now at the table to help fund these regional assets. And that's really been our mission for the last 4 years, is to figure out a more sustainable solution, because Birmingham has been the one carrying most of it in the past. And now you have other funding partners at the table.
It's good to have friends. So Ruffner Mountain, Red Mountain, and
Turkey Creek Nature
Turkey
Preserve.
Creek. I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't sure. I got the nature preserve part. Okay, that's all my questions.
Okay. Oh, no, I'm just excited, so. Anyways, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then one abstention. Thank you, guys. Next, we're gonna bring up three items, items 10, 11, and 19. This, item 10 is an agreement, well, this is to execute a second amendment to the agreement between the City of Birmingham and the Housing Reinvestment Corporation of America, under which they will be awarded funds under the American Rescue Plan Act in an amount not to exceed $1,622,163. Item 11 is an development agreement between the City of Birmingham and Woodlawn Foundation. They will be awarded funds under the CDBG home and the ARPA funding for the purpose of constructing up to 8 affordable new rental units located in South Woodlawn on 2.8 acres currently owned by Woodlawn United, on-site infrastructure improvements, and provide housing for HABD residents at or below 30% AMI to 8% of the area median income for an amount not to exceed $1,641,803. And then item 19, which is on page 7. This is a second amendment to the agreement between the City of Birmingham and the Housing Reinvestment Corporation of America, under which they will be awarded funds under the home and ARPA in an amount not to exceed $1,539,000. Okay. Yes, Madam Pro Tem.
How about item 20?
Item 20? Okay, we can do item 22. So this is a second amendment to the agreement between the City of Birmingham and HRCA, so the Housing Reinvestment Corporation of America, under which they will be awarded funds under the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program and the American Rescue Plan Act, an amount not to exceed $3,950,000. $3,950,984, and there's supposed to be a comma instead of a period in between 950 and 984. Okay. All right, Chief.
Yep, bring up, Mr. Corey Stallworth.
Good afternoon, Corey Stallworth. Serve as Senior Deputy Director for Community Development. And so the items that were mentioned, I just want to confirm. So the first one with Woodlawn is actually separate from HRCA. So I will give an update on that one. And so for the Woodlawn Partnership, that is to support the development of 8 rental cottages there. That will be in partnership with Woodlawn United and the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District. And so that will be phase 1 on the site off of Georgia Road. Phase 2, which is not contemplated receiving support in this agreement, will actually support up to like 20 townhomes on this same site. And so the request to community development was in the amount of $614,500 in CDBG funds. That was to support the infrastructure, and so we had to be very creative, so there's a lot of funding pots for this site. But the $600,000 will support the infrastructure for the townhomes and the 8 rental cottages. And so that infrastructure will be curbs, gutters, as well as the road infrastructure that needs to be put in place to actually service this new subdivision. Also, the $527,000 of home funds will be used to support the actual vertical construction of the 8 cottages, as well as the additional $500,000 in ARP funding. And so I don't know if you all recall that this project came before the council in 2020 to support this project. And then the council approved it. At that point, it was in the middle of the pandemic, and this project faced a lot of barriers as it relates to the rising costs of construction. And so since then, Woodlawn United had to recalibrate, as many of our other partners have had to do the same thing, and reevaluate the construction of this site. And they've since come back to the table in need of the additional $500,000 in ARP funding to make this project work. And so we are bringing this before the council today to approve this funding so that this project can move forward.
Okay. All right, Madam Pro Tem, do you have any questions?
Yes. I'm trying to remember when you first brought it to us.
Sure.
And so you said in 2020. And of course, we know what we've gone through with that and the cost of supply chain management and materials and that type of thing. Just remind me, does this construction include any type of financial literacy components, or is this all about construction? Will there be any aid to those residents that would be living in these homes?
Yes, so directly it won't have an educational component tied to the homes themselves, but for the residents that will receive the vouchers from HABD, with them being HABD residents, they will have support as it relates to education of any homeownership opportunities, as well as connected support with workforce development. And we do have Representative for Woodlawn here.
Hey, Megan Ann, whoa, sorry. Megan Ann Hellinga, Woodlawn United. Just wanted to share, this is within our footprint. So as a purpose-built community, to answer your question, we do the wraparound services. So for all housing, we have home ownership workshops. We have a leadership initiative, raising up folks through the community. So we do not put anyone in a home without that support. So.
Thank you. And so then the actual management of the properties, that comes under the housing authority once the properties are built, or how is this?
So actually be managed by Woodlawn United, and
Okay.
so they will get a management partner to oversee it. The housing authority will just be supporting the 8 units with vouchers.
Okay.
And those vouchers are called project-based vouchers, so they're tied to the 8 rental units. And so Woodlawn United will have an agreement with the housing authority for those 8 vouchers.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Abbott?
My question was, on items 10, 19, and 20, that's a total of over $7 million to one entity, the HRCA.
Oh, HRCA, so I haven't introduced that one yet. That is our partnership with NCRC, which is separate from this proposed agreement with Woodlawn United. So that's a separate site.
Yeah,
But yes, you are
but we
correct.
read them all together, and so I thought we were going to talk about them all at one time. So am I confused? Or what?
Yeah, we were gonna talk about them all at once.
Yeah, and I was just interested in kind of putting all our eggs in one basket for giving one entity so much of our funding. Are they the only ones with the capability, or did they have the best proposal, or are we not concerned about giving $7 million to one entity and how fast they can move and how soon we'll see productivity and?
Yes, so that, all of those things that you mentioned were definitely a part of our evaluation with the partner NCRC. That's their nonprofit name that you see there. And so just want to remind the council that these amendments are amended and restated. So the amounts that you see includes amounts that were previously approved by the council, plus new amounts that we're requesting for approval today. And so the $7 million is the comprehensive allocation from the city to NCRC to produce upwards of about 90 new homes. And so combined, that's upwards of $20 million that they would be investing across Birmingham in those sites that you're familiar with, which is Shadowbrook, which is out in Pratt, where we had the groundbreaking there sometime, as well as the homes around Woodlawn, I-3 Academy, around I-3 Academy and Woodlawn, as well as the homes in Bellevue Heights, the Oak Hill development. And so they too, as a lot of our housing partners, face some challenges as it relates to construction, and also their desire and wanting to make these homes affordable. And so I can go through each site one by one if that would be more helpful, or if you all have questions.
So item 10 is a separate site from item 19 and item 20. They're all separate locations.
That's correct.
Which one is the $3,950,000 one?
That would be Shadowbrook, so that is the site out in Pratt City. If you recall, that was the site with developer Alto Tarver that defaulted on constructing those duplexes that he was supposed to build there. And so since then, the city foreclosed on that property and we took it back. And we partnered with NCRC to do 52 new homes on that site. And so we originally allocated about $2.9 million in CDBG-DR funding for that site. And that was to support the vertical construction of the homes there. Today, the additional acts that we're asking is $963,984. And so that $900,000 will support water taps and water infrastructure that should have been put in place by the previous developer, and it wasn't. And so that is needed to support those homes, as well as the site has a drainage issue that is not originating from the site, but is originating from the neighborhood above the site. So there's a higher terrain that sits above the site, and so there's a lot of water that is rushing into the site, and so there's a need for an increase in the retention pond. And so that $963,984 will support those additional costs there.
Okay, well, since you're telling me all this information, number 10, which neighborhood is that?
Number 10, I don't have my agenda.
That's the $1,622,163, and it's all ARPA money.
So 10 is Oak Hill, and so that is the development in Bellevue Heights, where we partnered to build 27 new homes. And so since then, we've constructed 14 homes and sold them to date. When I say we, I should say NCRC. I apologize for that. And so the original agreement contemplating constructing 11 homes out of the 26 at 80% of AMI and 16 homes out of the total amount at 100% of AMI. And so since then, we have reevaluated the project with NCRC and see the need for all of those homes to be affordable at this point. And so that additional subsidy request of $1,082,162 will actually support subsidizing those 16 homes that are at 100% of AMI and bringing that cost down for folks at 80% of AMI to afford them. And so once again, we're going from a site that had a portion of affordable and a portion of market rate and making the entire site affordable at 80% of AMI.
Okay, that's good. And 19, which neighborhood, which community is
So
that?
19, I think that's our final one, and that is to support the properties at Woodlawn around I-3 Academy. And so we have, in partnership with NCRC, constructed 4 out of the 16 to date, and we have sold 3. And so this would be the same request to further subsidize those homes, bringing them from what would be at market rate and making those more affordable. And this is based on the demand that we're seeing in these neighborhoods and also just the increased cost of construction. And so when we first started this partnership with NCRC to build a home, the cost to build a home was $240,000. Since then, and that was just in 2021, Now in 2024, the cost is $280,000. And so this is an effort to make sure that these homes continue to be sold at a price point that's reasonable for our citizens. And so originally, we had to put in $40,000 per house to subsidize these homes. Now we're upwards to $80,000 in subsidy, just to bring them to a purchase price of at least $200,000 or $210,000.
Wow. I've been here too long. I remember when $100,000 house was a really expensive house.
Yes. And so these houses have the same price as a house that is renovated in the same neighborhood, but our citizens are able to get a brand new house for $210,000. So it's a great value, and it's just one of the ways we're having to be creative and be flexible in this market with rising interest rates.
Do we ever have problems, or does anyone that we're contracting with have problems selling the homes after they've built them, or are there plenty of people who qualify?
There are plenty of people. We do have to do marketing because we're looking for a specific buyer that is at 80% or below. But once we do our outreach, we have a pipeline of individuals. And even through our down payment assistance program, we have 200 applicants in that program. And so there is a demand, but when you look at new housing stock across the city, there's not a lot of it. And so this is a way that we're hopefully able to catalyze new construction across the city to where it's not just the city spurring it, but we get other developers to join us in producing more new housing stock.
Well, that's good. They can't be turned into short-term rentals, can they?
No. These properties have restrictions on them for affordability as well as for the use. It has to be your primary, home.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President.
Yes.
Chairman.
Madam Pro Tem, did you have any more questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you for asking the additional questions, because I will say, when we first got the agenda, I think some of our questions were this large amount of money
Yes.
that it looked like we were putting out. And then I know there was some questions about who would be managing the homes, and question was, were you all now in the real estate business or what? And I think you've been out there, you've been trying to get people in Woodlawn, so we can appreciate that. So no, and so thanks for breaking each one of those down, because
You're
it just
welcome.
seemed like
I know it's a
great
large
money.
amount.
Yes, thank you.
So, I have a couple of questions. So on the agenda tomorrow, that we have item number 21 is 1.141 million to Woodlawn Foundation. Is this related?
Well, it should not be on the agenda for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Council is Alan Foster
Hey.
from the Office of City Attorney. Yet, as Mr. Stallworth mentioned, that this project, that project was expired, the contract expired to allow us to come back. So that is a rescission of that project. So that's what you're looking at, is the rescind the original project, and then
Gotcha,
we're going to
okay.
submit a new one.
Okay, that's helpful. Okay, because I was like, what? I was like, these are two different amounts that's on here. Okay, that's good. Let's see. How many houses have you completed so far? Did you answer that? I'm sorry if you did.
Yes, so at Oak Hill, we've completed 16. At Woodlawn, we've completed 4.
And have you been able to sell all 16, well, all 20 houses?
All 16 have been sold to date, and out of the 4, we have sold 2, and the third one is under contract right now.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well,
And we haven't constructed any in Pratt, Shadowbrook.
okay. Okay. When do you think those will be completed?
Shadowbrook?
Yeah, Shadowbrook.
So Shadowbrook, we have a 2-year agreement. We're really urging them to get started on Shadowbrook as soon as possible, as soon as we get the approval from council to execute the agreement.
Okay.
And so they should be able to hit the ground running before the end of the year. And 50 homes is a lot of homes, so it'll take 2 years for them to complete that.
Okay. And how are we, I guess, recruiting people or telling people about the housing? Is it just through, who is it with?
So one way we're doing that is through our down payment assistant partner, Neighborhood Housing Services, and they do much more than that. So they also do housing counseling, and they also point any applicants to credit repair, even helping folks with gainful employment. And so they have a list of all of our potential sites, and when they have their fairs and seminars, they promote these sites to applicants to see if they would like to purchase or become eligible for one of them. Also, just through neighborhood meetings and setting up, town halls where we can display these opportunities. Signage is also important. So at these lots, you also see signage where it says that this house is coming soon, almost like you would see in a newly built subdivision.
Okay, well, you guys let us know when you do that, so we can let our constituents know, and even people that don't live in our neighborhoods, because I know we all know young people who would like to move into the city. We just talked about that, though. Okay, Madam Pro Tem, did you have anything? Councilor Abbott?
I'm good, thank
Okay.
you.
All right, we need a motion in a second.
I move approval.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye, the item passes. Thank you, guys.
Okay, now that was items 10, 11,
19,
19, and 20.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see what's next. So I think it's item 16. Yeah, item 16. This is authorizing the mayor and/or chief of police to execute an interlocal cooperation agreement between Aaliyah and the city of Birmingham for the Birmingham Police Department for a term of up to 3 years for the issuance of UCDL or ID cards for Birmingham Police Department officers working in investigative operations. The mayor and/or chief shall be authorized to expend up to $1,000 for fees related to the issuance of these cards and to execute all documents necessary.
Move the item.
Second.
Okay, chief. Hey.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Detective Bussey, Birmingham Police Narcotics. Basically, this is funds to provide us to purchase through Aaliyah undercover identification to assist us in being able to do covert investigations throughout the city without giving up our true identities and compromising our safety and the investigation.
Okay. Madam Pro Tem?
Well, this makes plenty of sense right now, because at first, when I first read it, I was like, $1,000 with some ID cards? So now that you've explained it, it makes much more sense to me, so thank you. That was the only question I had. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Abbott?
Yeah, I had a problem with what is a UCDL. So, if it'd been written out, you wouldn't have to be here.
Right.
But now I understand, so I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you. Next item is item number 17. This is an agreement with the Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama. Crime Stoppers, an Alabama nonprofit under which Crime Stoppers agrees to provide to the city recurring advertising and promotion of the resources of Birmingham Police Department via multiple media sources, including but not be limited to such media sources as flyers, signs, web pages, social media, newspapers, radio, and television for the purpose of aiding Birmingham Police Department in the prevention and detection of criminal activity. The term of the agreement shall not exceed 1 year and shall end on June 30th, 2025. For said services, the city will pay the Crime Stoppers a total sum not to exceed $50,000.
Second.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Bob Kopis. I'm the Director of Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama. Over the past 2 years, we've really been focusing more on, certainly our product is to help law enforcement, but we focus on the people who live in the community, wherever that community is, to have a safe neighborhood and no violent crime. And I'm here to tell you that Crime Stoppers right now is off the scale. We've been putting out news releases. We have now issued more tip payments, had more cases solved, have more violent offenders arrested since June than we did the entire year last year. People are calling Crime Stoppers, and that's what they should do because you remain anonymous. We will never, ever tell anyone who you are because we don't know who you are. And we do pay out. Just last week, we paid out authorized payment of $4,300. So when people say, well, they're two big things, does Crime Stoppers really keep me anonymous? Does Crime Stoppers really pay? We do.
Yeah, great, okay. Counselor Abbott, do you have any questions?
I don't, but I'm really glad to hear that people are taking Crime Stoppers seriously and I guess finally believing you when you say you don't tell anyone who they are because you
Right.
don't know. Because that's, the people in the neighborhood know who all the most of the criminals are. But you know, if you're afraid they're gonna come back and get you, then you might not say anything.
Yeah.
So,
And the cash incentive does come into play when you see when they'll ask, well, will I get some money? And I go, yeah, you'll get some money. So it still works. One thing I will also say, we worked with Service First Bank to deliver 440 book bags to the City of Birmingham Police Department. We stuffed those bags and we went out to the Crossplex and we handed those out. And fortunately, most people got one. I was really worried because there was a lot of people there, but most family got one per student. And now we're working on our for the third year in a row, our Halloween candy drive. I personally believe, I'm sure y'all do too, that the youth are our future, and we've really got to be showing them a positive message toward violent crime and why you don't want to be a part of it and why you should report it if you do know something. So we're staying active over there, and we hope we can continue to see this kind of reaction from the public, because it's your street, it's not the criminals. 5-year-olds shouldn't be shot in the streets of Birmingham or anywhere else. But the people that know it are afraid to say anything. And so we're really working hard to get that going. And Chief Thurman's Birmingham Police Department, U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force, and now the ATF working with the switch guns, which you've heard. We have 7 arrests that have come off of our tips of the switches on those guns. And the people who are using those guns are some of our most serious violent offenders, and they don't really need to be on the street.
and those switches, they make the guns into automatics.
Right,
That just
they do.
spray everybody with bullets. And they're not very good shots.
And unfortunately, that's good and it's also bad, but innocent people are being hit by those
Yeah.
rounds.
Not that
And
you
it's got to
want 'em-
stop.
Not that you want them to hit their victim,
No.
but it's the innocent people that really get you.
Yeah.
So that's my story. I'm sticking to it, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
Okay, so where does your funding come from? Is it all donations
It can
from
be all
cities?
overall. Yeah,
and
we receive the money y'all received. Thank you so much for last year's Jefferson County Commission. We get about $70,000 from them. We get and do an annual fundraiser. It raised about $100,000 over at the club. Then we have a lot of corporate donations. They'll be giving $5,000 to $10,000. We got a $10,000 donation today. But you know, social media has changed so much, and advertising. For instance, I thought it was interesting. Y'all said advertising. We sent this out. This is the Keith and Parker homicide over there, and we sent. This is the proof, so it's a bit larger than what it actually looked like. But we mailed this to 2,200 houses in that neighborhood. We think we probably gave it to somebody who's probably the suspect. I'm looking forward to seeing some information come back from that. So we send out flyers constantly on those. We try to get on the news as much as we can. It's hard to get on the news here sometimes, but the main thing is for the families, because you can see them. They walk in the room and have this big hole right here, and we try to show them that the police are doing what they can, but they can't sit there and call you every day. But Crime Stoppers, if you want to come by every day and come by and just visit with us, have a cup of coffee, you come on by, because we'll talk about this case and we're going to keep that case alive, even if the victim's gone. We want to see justice served, obviously. Accountability is where the real problem is. Why should you shoot 75 rounds of rifle ammo down a street and not feel like you're going to get caught for that? There's got to be accountability. And I believe that. I think we still have that opportunity to do it. And I think a lot of people are working together, you see it right today, to make that happen.
Is that it?
I'm ready.
Okay, Madam President?
Thank you very much. Very thankful for what this organization does and how you're working. You know, we often quickly say, if you see something, say something. And so if this motivates people who have valuable information to us, I'm very glad to be able to support that. I do want to say, I am very excited about what you're doing in the communities with the book bags. And we had our book bag giveaway in D7 on the same day. So when we gave out, we sent people over to the Crossplex. So I'm excited that you have to do that, because so often within homes, the children can be the voice to the parents of, what you need to do, Mama, what you need to do, Daddy, what can we do to help this? So just glad for what you're doing within the communities as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you
Not
very
a
much.
question, just
Yeah.
a statement.
Yeah, I'm really thankful for you all and what you have done, especially with being able to help Birmingham Police Department solve the crimes and get more people to speak up. Because the more that people speak up, the quicker we can resolve it, and the more we can make sure that Birmingham isn't a comfortable place for criminals to commit the crimes. So I really am very thankful, just like what Madam Pro Tem said. Okay, I think there was a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye, that aye passes.
Well, thank you very much. Anytime I have any questions or anything from me, y'all know where I am, right over
yes,
here,
sir.
2121 building.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Item 18, this is an agreement between the City of Birmingham and Urban Alchemy in an amount not to exceed $1,717,881, under which Urban Alchemy will provide services to the city by providing community engagement outreach, homeless outreach, interim housing, hygiene services, street cleaning, and community crisis response to non-emergency 911 and other calls related to homelessness, mental health, and addiction to address the challenges created by the intersection of poverty, mental illness, addiction, and homelessness.
Second.
Okay, Chief.
Good afternoon again. Megan Venable Thomas. I serve as the Director of Community Development for the City of Birmingham. And we're excited today to talk about a proposal that we've been working on in partnership with a number of departments across the city to really think comprehensively about some of our strategies. Obviously, we've been talking about some of those that incorporate housing, but have also talked about the wraparound service provision that is needed. Another approach to this, really systemically, is figuring out how we have the touch points with residents, because we receive a lot of engagement from our community about challenges that around folks who are experiencing homelessness in our communities. And so this is an effort really for us to align across city departments, including fire, police, 911, 311, community development, et cetera, to create a more comprehensive plan to respond to and to get proactive about how we're responding to folks experiencing homelessness in our community. So this would really allow us to have a community-based public safety team that could be out doing outreach with folks experiencing homelessness. But the really innovative component of this is that we would be able to divert calls from community residents that are specifically around folks who are experiencing homelessness or having a crisis that needs de-escalation, to revert calls from 911 or 311 to our call center that would then allow our response team to go out and respond to the folks, to find them different service provision, connect them with our continuum of care or our other service providers in the community, and really do a more comprehensive job of resolving issues that we see in our community. So we put out a proposal back in March for this community-based public safety team and call center. We received several applicants, but found, based on what we were looking for and the experience doing this work across the country, also a unique model that employs workforce and folks that are most impacted, as well as provides service provision and can do so in a way that can scale. We selected Urban Alchemy and would like to present this today for your consideration to help us be even more comprehensive in our approach to homeless service provision.
Okay, thank you. Are they here, Urban Alchemy?
They're not here, but they will be here if this moves forward to council.
Okay. All right, Madam Pro Tem, do you have any questions?
Well, I do thank you for this information. I really want to go through and read it a bit more in detail because it has a lot of needed information that helps us move forward. This is a component of primarily of what we're talking about today is the call center and the outreach program, and that's the portion that we're really dealing with now, correct?
Yes.
And so I do see a large number of, I know this has been in LA, and is this sort of a prototype of what they're doing in that city?
Yes, that's
Very
correct.
similar? Okay.
That's correct. And they've been doing, I think, in LA for about 4 years, started in the pandemic. And in the packet, you can see some of the amounts of calls that they've been able to resolve, some of the impact that they've been able to have there. And also, if you look on page 8, you can see some of the outcomes and encounters that they've had with case management in a year, as far as total encounters, 7,000 people in crisis served, 728 de-escalation, meeting immediate needs, whether that's food, water, shelter, case management, referrals, and then referring them to coordinated entry with our continuum of care, or with continuum of care in LA, which is the approach that they would leverage here as well. You can also see some expected or intended impact on page 8 as well, based on the numbers and the research that we've done here, as far as how many calls a week we might have, about 473 that they might take a year, with an expected of 90% of those calls being resolved. And so we really think that this would have a huge impact on the way in which our system in the city could manage these calls, and the response and impact we could have on individuals because of a different model to engage with residents.
I know when I attended National League of Cities, we were in the Rancho Cordova, California, and one of the sessions for public safety and crime prevention and just dealing with people who found themselves in this situation, they had a joint effort between the city and the county where they had some rapid response and this type of coordination. So I'm glad to see that we're going to attempt to do this. Now, they only had 2 individuals, so what are you saying our number or capacity would be?
Yes, so this call
And
center.
again, and I know Michelle would be, when we hear this, they only had 52 individuals that they felt were unsheltered from a point-in-time study. So, and we're saying over 300, or is this some of the, what is our number? Yes, if that was in California, I was just wondering, yes, I knew you were gonna, but our numbers are, of course, much more significant than that. So I was just thinking, comparing the numbers, how many people do you think it's gonna take to provide these services?
So this would be a pilot for us
Okay.
to see how well this would work. A portion of what they would be doing would be in the onboarding process, is figuring out how best to divert calls, what that would look like, where the management would happen, and that would take a lot of coordination between our city departments to figure out what our model would look like here. They do this in LA, San Francisco, and in Austin, and each one has a different model based on that context. What we're looking at is about a 4-person call center. So it would have people who are on call, who are responding to those calls, as well as some management in their office. But they would be looking to employ local workforce as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Counselor Abbott?
Yeah, I was wondering if this has anything to do with the pallet program that has disappeared from our site?
Yes, this is part of a comprehensive model and approach to think about how, one, we're identifying who folks are, how we're getting them into our coordinated entry, and then how we're getting them into the potential micro shelter sites. So if you recall, Urban Alchemy was also a finalist in our Home for All micro shelter program. And so if this is a part of a comprehensive approach, then they would have a touch point with residents that they would be working with, that they can then pipeline into their micro shelters. And you'll be seeing something with the Home for All before the end of the year. as far as the next steps on the operational budget for the micro shelters.
Okay, so we don't actually have any. But
Micro-
there's, of the shelters, there's no,
They have not been launched yet, no. We are still working with the finalists in that program, and you'll be seeing something soon about what the request is for how we move that forward.
okay, and is there a protocol for people who enjoy living on the streets and panhandling and doing all the things they do and don't want to take advantage of any of our service providers? Do they have, like the hardcore people, do they have?
Yeah, so Urban Alchemy in particular work in some of the hardest or most challenged cities across our country dealing with this. I think their approach is around dignity, around relationship building, around health and equity. And so, you know, what this can do for us in partnership with the micro shelters, as well as a lot of the work that our other public service providers do, is give us an additional touch point to understand people's needs and to build relationship to really be able to resolve and address the root causes of some of the things that they're experiencing, to allow for more sustainability in whatever approach they might take on. Of course, there are probably always going to be people who will elect to do something different, but I think our hope is that when we have more comprehensive service provision, we can reach people in a different way and have the services and solutions available to offer things that might be aligned with what they need and want.
And do we have any kind of program to deal with these suburbs who bring people and dump them off in Birmingham?
We do not have a program, but we are in conversation with a lot of our partners in the county, with our larger service providers, like health institutions, to talk about what some approaches are to being able to decrease the challenges that bring a lot more capacity or a lot more to our doorstep than we're able to manage. So we are in conversation with our partners, and as you all know, relationship building takes time, but I think we are in the process of being able to have more hard conversations that will produce better outcomes for us managing folks experiencing homelessness here in the city.
Yeah, because the suburban governments are in on this. I mean, the dumping off part, they don't seem to be helping with the problem. In fact,
Right.
actually, they're creating a problem for the rest of us who live in Birmingham. And, you know, that's something that to me is just completely unacceptable.
Yes, I
Because we
agree
have
with you.
eyes and we can see who's doing the dropping off. It's not a secret.
Right,
They have their names written on the side of their cars.
yes, absolutely.
But it seems like that's an issue that someone needs to be dealing with because, you know, it's just not right for Birmingham to get all of the burden just because we're Birmingham.
You're absolutely right.
I think that's all my questions, but of course there are 8 pages of stuff here in very tiny print that we haven't had time to read yet.
Yeah.
So when this hits the agenda, there may be more questions.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I do have a question. I think part of it, Councilor Abbott alluded to, and I'm not saying they're not qualified, but how are we gonna deal with people who are on drugs? Because that takes a specialty to kind of deal with that.
Yes, I think the approach is to build relationship and address the individual needs of those folks that they encounter. And so they wouldn't necessarily be the health care provider, but they would manage connecting them with the service that is most applicable to them. And so part of the comprehensive approach, with also working with our coordinated care is that we then identify the needs and we have the partnership relationships to connect them with the services that they would need. But the first touch point that is really needed is that one-on-one connection when someone is experiencing a crisis or a resident is experiencing something they can't manage and feel like they need to call someone else, that they can come out, they can de-escalate the situation, they can provide for the immediate need, and they can support the coordination of whatever services might be able to address that need.
So with that, most of our transient residents don't stay in one place.
That's right.
How are they gonna be able to, I don't wanna say track them, but how are they gonna be able to know, okay, we see this person, we need to get them services, how can we get them that?
Yeah, so what they're able to do with this database is identify where people are, and many people frequent different spaces or places. I don't think so, but if you would like to add.
Actually, most of our folks we know very well. And yes, folks experiencing homelessness do tend to move from one place to another. Certainly, one of the things that the city has been working on tremendously is how to ethically, morally, and with dignity deal with encampments. And so one of the things that we know is that if you move an encampment, it's coming back.
Yeah.
And so we know generally who our folks are. I mean, that's part of the data gathering that One Roof and all of our partners do.
Okay, and I know we'll get to you all, but just educational moment, because a lot of times we don't know. And so I've seen that, like, Second Avenue, I've seen them clean up, and, you know, it's not out of an unsympathetic heart, it's more of like, what can we do? Because they shouldn't live like this. And so, I know there are some people who stay put and some people just move around, so thank you for answering that. Okay, are they gonna be working with CAP as well?
Can you repeat the question?
CAP, I forgot what they're,
City Action Patrol.
City Action Patrol, because they deal with the homelessness as well.
Yes.
Is that
yes.
something that they're gonna partner with?
Yes,
them?
there will be communication across them, knowing who is where and where folks can be supported.
Okay, that's good, okay. I'll probably have some more questions, because I see they have to hire some more people, okay. Madam Pro Tem, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm just gonna look forward to reading more of this, and
Yeah,
as Ms. Abbott
same.
said, there'll probably be other questions
Yeah,
when it comes
same.
before council.
Yeah, Council Abbott?
Okay, on page, well, pages without numbers. Page 3, I suppose this is, it says that the 12 months is going to begin on 1 April 2024 and end on 1 April 2025, so I assume that changes to 1 September or 1
That's correct. It would change to whenever the agreement, if it is passed, would be signed, and then it would go a year from that date.
Okay, so no stopping on June 30th? Okay, thank you.
Okay. But I do want to commend you and everyone else that's here. I do see an increase in services and the need to address the homelessness. I have a lot of hope. I'm very excited about what we have coming through the pipeline. Okay, well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye.
I abstain.
And one abstention from Councilor Abbott. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is item number 21. This is a management agreement between the city and the BCRI, under which the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute Board of Directors shall manage, operate, supervise, and maintain all property comprising the institute for a term of 3 years, and each year the city shall provide operational funding to BCRI in the amount of $1 million payable in 4 equal installments, subject to appropriation by the city in each corresponding fiscal year budget.
Second.
Hey.
Hello, Michelle Inman again from the Mayor's Office Accountant.
Danny Markstein, Chairman of the Board, Civil Rights Institute.
Okay.
And was there any particular questions or any information?
Yeah, let's, Council Abbott, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to know, I know that BCRI is having some issues right now with people leaving and vacant positions, and so, and you have an interim director, right, director. I guess I'm interested in knowing how things are going over there. You know, how,
Sure, I guess I can comment broadly. I'm joined by Carol Wells, our Chief Financial Officer, and LeBaron McClendon, our Head of Human Resources. Isaac Cooper has become our interim CEO. We are looking for a interim CEO to replace Isaac. We'll have a executive committee transition after our annual meeting on September 26th. We feel it's important for our new leadership to sort of run point on a broader search for a permanent CEO. So that's why we have an interim, and we'll probably try to find someone to serve in an interim capacity who is not a former board chair.
Yeah.
okay, and I guess this question would be for Mr. Mitchell. Is this 2024 money or potentially 2025 money?
It's the same allocation that we had from last year's budget that it's gonna be unchanged. It still was gonna be the $1 million operation budget for BCRI.
Okay, but we paid them for 2024, and now
$1
this
million.
is the next.
So last year was a little different. We gave them $1 million in operating and $1 million in capital. So we removed the capital part, and now we just did the $1 million in operations.
Okay. And once this is approved by the council, how fast do we generally get them there?
It just depends on when we get the agreement executed and the resolution from the council, and then as soon as we get a purchase order, we'll make the first quarterly payment.
Okay.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Madam Pro Tem?
Thank you. That was gonna be just my question. It said 4 equal installments, so you try to do it on a quarterly basis? Okay, and then we do know, Mr. Cooper was past president, or is he
He
current?
was the chairman and now is serving as our interim CEO.
Okay, and I guess with his financial background, that's pretty good to have him there for right now. Thank you. Thank you.
I don't think I have any questions. Council Abbott, do you have any additional questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The item passes. Thank you all.
Thank you for your support.
Next item is item number 22. This is an agreement with the Birmingham Times Media Group, under which the Birmingham Times will provide weekly print and online advertisements to inform, educate the citizens of the city about city codes, ordinances, programs, and services to positively support the citizens for an amount not to exceed $65,000. In addition, Birmingham Times will deliver and distribute 50 weekly copies of the Birmingham Times for a sum of $65,000 to be paid in 2 equal installments of $32,500 for a term beginning September 1st, 2024, and then June 30th, 2025.
Move the item.
Second.
Jeff or Cheryl?
Madam Chair, is there a particular question that the committee has?
Okay. Madam Pro Tem, do you have any questions?
No, I know this is, we're saying we're gonna pay this in two equal installments. And this is our print media, which gives us an opportunity to provide information to our residents. I guess I just want to be sure the public understands what we're doing here from the council standpoint.
Both print and digital.
Print and digital, thank you. And I believe, is Birmingham Times our only print resource right now that we could put into the community, or are there others? But it's one of the reaches into our districts.
Yes. The best way to answer that without intruding on the administration, it is not the only. I think we use some other newspapers for publication purposes, but it's one of the few remaining print media companies that exist.
All right, thank you. My only questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Abbott.
Okay, well, one thing that crossed my mind, and I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask anyway to confirm, the advertisements that we're going to put in the Times to inform and educate the citizens, who will pull together the information or decide the topics of the information that we'll be putting out 52 weeks a year? We have to have 52 topics.
Yes, we've been working with the Birmingham Times for about 4 years under the same type contract. So weekly, the PIO team works closely with the council itself. We go to the president and they pull together the ads, and we try to just stay attuned to what the council is passing and try to reinforce any information that we feel that the council wants out. But it is approved by the president or the counselor who is asking for something to be placed in the paper.
Okay, so council members can suggest topics?
Yes.
And to the PIO or to you or to both of y'all or to all of you?
You know, we're pretty loose, so.
You're pretty.
So to Kim, who works with Alicia to come up with the graphics. So as long as it gets into the pool, we really do get it out every week by their publication deadline.
Okay, good. Because I think as long as this, short-term rental thing has come into our lives,
Yeah.
I think that would be a good topic. Yeah. Thank you.
And I actually have copies of some of the ads we've used for the council and for myself, and it's been good. Like they had one time for Women's History Month, all of our faces. We see them for the budget hearing, so it's been very useful. And you always see those newspapers everywhere. And it's big too, like you can't miss it, which is a good thing.
But we can do an article on training for how to use your uniform garbage cart and where to leave it when you are finished having your garbage picked up, because in my district, people leave them out in the street.
That's a great idea.
And then you can't park.
I think Cody just heard you, and he's
Perfect.
writing as you speak.
Yes, yes, photographs. We can take lots of photographs.
And then, Code Enforcement 101, something short and sweet. Not parking our cars on the front line, et cetera. Recycling too. So, okay.
We have so many topics, so little time.
I know. Okay. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The item passes. Item number 23, resolution by the council of the city of Birmingham authorizing the mayor to execute for and as act of said city any and all documents necessary for the city to make application, receive and expend grant funding from the U.S. EPA, Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights for its Environmental and Climate Justice Community Change Grants Program. This will be used to partner with Cornerstone Revitalization Foundation to perform energy burden reduction work citywide and create workforce development opportunities by partnering with the Black Business Center that's being created through the Recompete grant. The funding request is up to $20 million with no city match required.
Second.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Thomas Yule. I serve as Interim Director of the Mayor's Office of Resilience and Sustainability. Before you is a request for approval to apply for the Community Change Grant from EPA, as you said, for up to $20 million to reduce energy burden for Birmingham residents. We will partner with Cornerstone Revitalization Foundation to train residents, find jobs for them in green construction jobs, and do improvements to homes to lower energy costs. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. Madam Pro Tem?
Yes, just wanted to ask, is Cornerstone already providing these type of services? Is this something they're doing as far as the workforce development?
So Cornerstone is already an administrator of the city's critical home repair program, which this would be very similar to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Council Abbott?
Yeah, the thing I was interested in was performing energy burden reduction work citywide. So who is going to get these services, and exactly what are they? Are we trying to, reduce people's use of electricity and gas and water and?
Essentially, yes, ma'am. So first, I'll take your questions out of order, if that's okay. First, the type of work we'll be doing. We worked with the Department of Energy to identify the best, most cost-effective improvements to residents' homes based on housing typologies in North Birmingham. And we developed a list that includes fixing leaks in the building envelope, like drafty windows, that type of thing, adding additional insulation, installing heat pump HVAC systems, and heat pump water heaters. Heat pumps are essentially air conditioners in reverse. Instead of like pumping hot air out of your house to cool it, it pumps hot air in your house to heat it. So similarly, a heat pump water heater heats water by pumping hot air into the unit to heat it. This would be available to all single-family residences. Our plan is to start with existing critical repair recipients to go beyond the critical repair work that was done, to do this energy burden reduction work for them. And if/when we run out of homes in that pot, we would potentially open it up to a broader citywide search for homes to do this work for.
Would trees be included in this project? Planting trees to shade people's homes so the homes don't get really, really hot?
That is not an item that is currently in the work plan we're discussing. I'd be happy to look to see if it's eligible and see if it's appropriate.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, having trees makes an enormous difference. When you look at a city street, the cars all want to park under the tree, not out in the sun. So I figure somebody has recognized the fact that trees are worthwhile things to have. But for homeowners, a lot of people want to cut down all their trees so they won't have to rake leaves. But the problem is, then your house burns up.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a problem. But this sounds like a great, if we can get this $20 million, it will be a fine thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Trees or no trees.
Do you have an estimate of how many people we can help? How many homes?
So our best estimate is that it will cost, if we provided all of these interventions to a home, it would cost at least $30,000 per home. Because it includes, wholesale replacement of an HVAC system, a new heat pump. It's pretty substantial interventions. So we estimate we could do, I think some of our original estimates were 250 homes. That is a rough estimate at this point as our budget comes together. Again, that's an estimate at this point, but we hope to hit quite a few number of homes. A lot of the budget will also go to workforce development components, so.
Okay. And how would that be divided amongst districts?
So I don't know that that's something we've discussed at this point. However, I'd be happy to look and determine like geographic priority.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know if we know what areas of town have the most requests for critical repair. Because I know I have one elderly resident in particular who asked for help, actually a couple of them, for HVAC systems. I know you said existing critical repair apps, but there's so many people in need that I kind of would like to see us open it back up for this program, just so we can help out additional people who have been waiting 2-3 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, all right. Any other questions?
One more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the workforce development, that's going to be development of jobs that are in the green industry, energy-saving industry, not just any old job.
Correct. Cornerstone Revitalization Foundation already has an existing workforce development program. We'd likely add additional training and certification to that program. Most likely, the most relevant kind of areas for this work is carpentry, insulation, plumbing, HVAC, and potentially you can be certified in energy audits themselves. So going into a house and identifying what that house needs. So we may additionally do training and certification on energy audits.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Do they reach out to labor unions when they do this?
Yeah, so I believe Cornerstone has a relationship with a number of unions. I can check in on that though.
And then Lawson in District 7 and Jeff State in District 1 as well?
I believe so.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure we include, our schools and our labor unions as well. Okay. Will this be a motion and a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and one abstention. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Item number 24, this is an agreement with Oak Hill Memorial Association to provide.
We consented that one.
You consented
Yes,
that? Okay.
sorry.
All right, well,
It was a surprise consent.
I know, I'm surprised. Okay, well, now we're on to old and new business. This is a homelessness social services request. And committee members, I asked for this so we can just kind of get an update from those organizations that are in the budget to see how it's going and how we can reach out to them if we have any instances occurring in our district.
Good afternoon. I'm Gina Malasham. This is our Director of Operations at AIDS Alabama, Dave Bart.
Yeah.
AIDS Alabama, and there's a folder in front of you. This document is the one we'll really be making reference to. It's in the front on the right. So we provide a range of essential services to support the community in the battle against HIV. Our comprehensive offerings include social services, transportation assistance, support for substance misuse and mental health care, just like those that you were just discussing earlier. And we're committed to empowering residents to achieve independence through leading fulfilling and very healthy lives. Understanding that ending the epidemic necessitates strong prevention, we also offer free and confidential and anonymous rapid HIV testing and testing for hepatitis C, as well as those co-infections of STIs, and treatment at no cost. And so currently AIDS Alabama is administering over $4 million every year in affordable housing initiatives across the state of Alabama. We work closely with our AIDS Service Organization Network, and we're an integral partner in the Birmingham Continuum of Care, and partnering with One Roof and other Continuum of Care members to enhance our efforts. And so contrary to common belief, we do not only offer services for folks that are living with HIV. Our care goes beyond those that are living with HIV and encompasses the entire community, recognizing that the impact of the virus touches all of us in various ways, but especially in a southern context here in Jefferson County. So currently 75% of the $832,000 that it takes to operate our way station emergency shelter is sustainably funded. However, the remaining 25%, which is about $208,000, remains unsecured. And the emergency shelter faces challenges in securing ongoing funding for essential services, as all the costs aren't covered by the Continuum of Care and Ryan White and HOPA programs. And so we urgently need support to fund our HIV-specific housing at the way station. The $30,000 allocation that the 2023 Emergency Solutions Grant has been really instrumental, and it benefited a lot of residents. And so we seek to sustain this level of support and hopefully obtain some additional funding. Our ask is that we get this continued support from the City of Birmingham so that we can keep our comprehensive support for the folks that are living with HIV in our shelters. This includes case management, transportation, linkage services to the other support that they're in need of, as well as education, and laundry facilities for clothing closet, their hot meals, their hygiene supplies and showers facilities, as well as, most importantly, a safe place to sleep. Our primary goal remains to enhance access to affordable housing and transition clients from emergency shelters to stable and independent homes.
Thank you. Committee members, do you have any questions for AIDS Alabama?
I don't.
Council
I do. What other cities in the surrounding area are providing funding besides Birmingham?
So AIDS Alabama functions as kind of the parent, the head of the AIDS Service Organization Network of Alabama. So of this $4 million that we're kind of spending statewide, a lot of that is federal funding that is entitlement HOPWA funding to cover all 67 counties in the state. And we use this network to make sure that all of those counties do get coverage, and we subcontract the other AIDS service organizations in each different area of the state. For sitting funding, our mission has grown throughout the lifespan of AIDS Alabama, and our finances are a little diverse as a result. And so we have to have a really strict set of ties on how we use any of the different funding, and we make sure that any City of Birmingham funding stays within the City of Birmingham. The COC funds that we receive for those homeless services stay specific to those areas. So we do have a pretty diverse group, but we also make sure that we're spending it appropriately and keeping everything earmarked, all the dollars that are earmarked for City of Birmingham, the greater county area of Birmingham, because we are a United Way Central Alabama partner, so we're covering that now 6-county area with them. So we do a lot of kind of grant management to make sure that we are spending the funds appropriately. This particular ask is about our newest project, which is the way station, and it is a mix of transitional housing and true homeless emergency shelter housing, low barrier, present at the door. Fortunately, the transitional side is largely funded through our continuum of care homeless programs. Yeah. And so that half of the building is fairly solid, and we've been able to kind of piecemeal the other funding together through use of some of our existing HIV-related funding for HOPWA, that's Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and Ryan White, which is the two largest federal sources for HIV-related housing and funding in general. And so on that shelter side, we are specifically targeting young adults, so ages 19 to 29 for the shelter side. And they have a priority, but to make sure that the doors stay open and we fill all of the beds, because we have 20 emergency shelter beds in that side of the building, we open the door for folks also living with HIV that may be outside of that age range. The shelter side is where we're struggling the most with just making sure that all the ends meet. And currently, just on base regular usage, we're short about 25%. Fortunately, we're finding ways, through our partnership with regions and local community giving, which are unfortunately usually one-off. You get funded for 1 year, but they're not that standard renewal. It's left us with a little bit of a deficit, and that's what we're trying to fill with help from the city.
Okay, but my question was, what other municipalities in the surrounding area around Birmingham are also contributing?
For the way station program specifically?
Anything.
We don't really get any other direct city funding. We get funding through ADECA statewide, a lot of HUD funding that's typically passed through United Way of Central Alabama. The only city we're funded by with AIDS Alabama is the city of Birmingham. We do also have an agency in Mobile, and they get a little bit of city or county funding depending on the year for that agency, but that's unrelated to the way station.
So do you ever ask them for funding?
Because of our partnership with the other network or the other AIDS organizations in Alabama, we try to let everybody kind of work their own catchment territory. So I don't want to go to Tuscaloosa and ask the city of Tuscaloosa to give us money, because they have Five Horizons Health Services in Tuscaloosa.
How about Homewood, Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Gardendale, Forestdale?
All of our local cities.
Surrounding municipalities that surround Birmingham that's in the middle.
We've never been funded from any of the other surrounding cities.
Have you ever asked?
To my awareness, no.
Seems like that would be a great idea.
That is a great idea.
To ask everybody, and you can always say, well, Birmingham always helps with our funding.
Yep.
So we thought you might want to also.
The majority of our housing is in the city of Birmingham, but there's still no reason that we
Well,
couldn't
that's why they
ask.
drop people off here. So, I just wondered because, you need money, but you're not asking everybody, you're only asking us. which is fine, but it's not, I mean, if you're really needing money, you might ask the people who don't ever contribute
Absolutely, no, it's a valid point.
if they might like to help out.
I can appreciate that, Counselor Abbott, and there is also, like a removal, a clear removal that other, as you've mentioned, communities like to place and say, well, that problem doesn't exist here, so.
Well,
we're
that's
gonna
because they
focus here
drive them
instead.
over to other cities.
And we certainly appeal to them for support in our individual events and purchasing tickets and making, individual contributions, but not on a municipal level, and we should. And we will.
Well, good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have anything? Okay, I don't have anything. Thank you guys for the update.
Thank y'all so much for the time.
Okay. I don't know who's next. Whoever wants to go next. We don't have a list, by the way, but, okay.
Hi, thank you for having us today. My name is Jennifer Ellison, and I'm the new Executive Director at Family Connection. And we are a nonprofit organization that serves youth through safety, shelter, and counseling services. Here in Birmingham, we operate our Project Hope facility that serves runaway, homeless, street, and at-risk youth ages 12 to 21. This program, we're located on 7th Avenue North. We have a drop-in day shelter that is open Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. We partner very closely with some of the other providers that are here today, the Way Station and Firehouse Shelter. And we bring the youth in during the day where they also have access to shower facilities, laundry facilities, but we also provide case management, life skills training, transportation for them should they need to go obtain essential documents, go to medical appointments, legal appointments, other appointments. We also provide access to medical supplies, hygiene products, clothing, and really the way that we get youth into our program is through our street outreach. So we have our Hope Mobile Van that's on the streets 5 days a week throughout the city of Birmingham, looking for unaccompanied youth who may be experiencing homelessness, maybe runaway, with the goal of establishing the trust and the relationships with them so that we can get them into our shelter and or to another shelter. We also provide transportation and again work very closely with them. We distribute survival aid packets, and so we're about serving the youth. Family Connection also operates a residential shelter in Alabaster for youth ages 12 to 17. So we also can provide housing there. But I just have a few statistics I wanted to share. Our projections for 2024, we are anticipating that we are going to serve at least 50 young people in our shelter this year, directly in the shelter with case management, referrals, all the services I mentioned. We're projecting we're going to provide 686 packed lunches and dinners, 616 transportation trips to wherever they may need to go, 664 life skills education classes, 700 units of case management, and that we will distribute over 2,000 survival aid packets on the streets throughout the year. So that's who we are, and I'm new. I took over in January of this year, so I'm still learning. So if you have any questions, I will do my best to answer them. And I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to bring today, so I only brought one packet, but I'll be happy to give it with you and get you additional copies of anything that you would like.
You can email it to us, it's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Madam Pro Tem, do you have any questions?
Thank you so much for providing this information. Often really interested in what we're doing for this particular age group. So glad to know that this program exists, and welcome. Glad you're over there.
And our ESG funds are really the funds that we use to run our shelter, that drop-in day shelter. So we're primarily funded by our ESG grant. We also receive a large grant from the Department of Health and Human Services for our street outreach program. Our grant funds total about $225,000 a year, but our annual operating expenditures are just over $331. So Family Connection makes up the difference. We do allocate a significant portion of our United Way allocation and our annual fundraising dollars. So This is definitely a program that we're very proud of. And as I'm new, we're in the middle of strategic planning. So on September 9th, I'll be presenting to our board a proposal to look at growing and expanding our program operations over the next 3 years to be able to serve more at-risk youth.
And could I just ask for clarification?
Yes.
You say you are a United Way agency?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
We are a United Way
Thank
agency.
you.
United Way Agency. Perfect. Okay. Do you have your card? Well, you're going
I
to
do.
email
I
us.
put my card in here.
Okay.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Any other questions?
Council Abbott?
Well, I was curious to know, do you receive any funding from the city of Birmingham?
We don't receive any direct funding other than our ESG funds from the city of Birmingham. And I would mention that my shelter in Alabaster, we are also the recipient of an ESG grant as part of a subrecipient for Shelby County. But that funds my shelter in Alabaster. So we too try to keep our grant monies separate.
Well, I understand that.
Yes, ma'am.
Your name is Family Connection. Do you ever send the children back to their families or instigate reconnections of people who may be left under bad circumstances?
Absolutely. We work with a very diverse group of young people. So we operate, our shelter in Alabaster is a runaway homeless shelter, and for youth, we're really it in central Alabama. So if a child calls the National Runaway Hotline in Alabama, they get our information. So we take runaway homeless kids from throughout, really, the state. And of course, if possible, our first goal is always family reunification. Unfortunately, for a lot of the kids that we work with, that may not be the case. So we just make sure that we work with any partners we need to make sure that we can get them into a safe, stable living environment.
And do you have any problems with drug use?
So we are also low barrier in our shelter in Birmingham, and so we serve youth that may, experience drug use or maybe dealing with addiction or other issues. But we'll work with them again on identifying the appropriate services and again providing that case management to try to link them up with resources so that they can get treatment. We see a lot of vapes in our residential shelters. So smoking cessation, tobacco use, edibles are a big thing right now. So we do as much as we can to try to do preventative education with our kids, and again work them to link them up with resources to try to deal with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having us. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Okay. Guess who's next? Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Jennifer Sumner. I'm the Executive Director of Pathways. We are a shelter for women and children experiencing homelessness, and we have 3 programs. We have the Day Center for women and children experiencing street homelessness, meaning the night before they slept somewhere not meant for human habitation, perhaps an abandoned building, a car, an alley, the street. That's typically our gateway into Pathways, and from there we try to move them into our emergency shelter stepping stones. And we have 2 separate parts to stepping stones. We have the women who are unaccompanied by their children, and we have women with children. And we accept teenage boys all the way up to age of 18 if they're with their mom. We also have a Safe Haven program, which is for women who have a severe mental illness, and they are also experiencing homelessness, and that can be long-term. A lot of times we find that if they're on medication and going to their doctor's appointments, which they have to do while they're there, that they become stable and want to get their own place and get a job and become more independent. But the thing I think I'm proudest of is our Early Learning Center. We're the only one in the state of Alabama that's completely free to children experiencing homelessness. And that was also identified as our major barrier for women to be able to become employed and secure permanent housing. We are a United Way agency. We receive City of Birmingham funding, county funding, and we are busting at the seams. So if I could get a new building, I could serve a lot more people. We have a very long waiting list right now.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what we offer.
Okay. Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions?
So you said that you take women with children, and men?
So we take women with teenage boy, like children any age, all the way up to 18. A lot of times they're separated once they reach the age of 12 or 13, but we allow boys to remain with their moms. But we do serve dads who are experiencing homelessness. Perhaps they're staying at another shelter. But what we do is we allow them to bring their children to the Early Learning Center. Dads need help too, and they can come in and eat in the day center if their children are enrolled in the Early Learning Center.
But the fathers don't stay in the same shelter as
No.
all the...
Women are at much higher risk for violence typically than men, and they feel very safe there. Like last year, we operated a warming station for the first time, and this year you guys have provided us funding for a warming station. And women who typically are averse to congregate housing are starting to stay there now because we built that rapport and trust with them during the coldest and hottest days of the year. They feel safe. And we also have 4 social workers for each program and another social worker for our parent education program, which is actually the only requirement for children to be enrolled in the Early Learning Center is the parents have to come to the on-site flexible parent education classes. And I've got everyone a little packet here. Do you want me just to leave it right here? Okay. And my number's on here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Okay, Madam Pro Tem, do you have any questions?
Well, thank you very much. Very familiar with your agency. An organization that I serve in, we were partnered with you at one time, but this has been many years ago. So I just wanted to ask sort of some updated information. What is the average amount of time that a family might be in there? Is more transitional housing? And so give us just an idea of what the average amount of time.
3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months. I'm sorry if you said that already. And then I know at one time when I was served on the Board of Education, you also helped partner with Birmingham City Schools so that the children, while they're in that housing, they could still get their education. Is that still the case?
We do. We make sure the bus can come and pick them up at our door. And that might prevent more, trauma to the children if they're already enrolled in one school system, and we don't want to have to move them to another one. But we do everything we can to accommodate them.
And what about clothing? Do you get donations or you use that out of your funding? I know at that time the students were in uniforms, so we had to try to find ways to have them in the uniforms. Do you have that now, or do you assist in clothing?
We assist, like if they need a uniform, we have gift cards or we do it, but we also have a clothing closet for children and we have a clothing closet for adults. Goodwill on the back of this, it's not an advertisement, it just happened to be on the back of this. If you donate to the Goodwill in Port Madrid, we get vouchers for clothing, and also for if they get housing and they need a microwave or bed linen or something like that, they can use the vouchers at Goodwill. Because like I said, we're busting at the seams and we can't take a whole lot more, but we also get donations from J. Jill and Nike and places like that.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Who's next?
Good evening. I'm Sherry Bray. I am the Executive Director at First Light Shelter here in Birmingham, located on 23rd and 4th Avenue North, which was the old Granada Hotel, as some of you may know. First Light has been in existence for about 40 years, starting in the basement of First Presbyterian Church in 1983, and we are a shelter that provides shelter to homeless women and women with children. but we also do a lot of what's called permanent supportive housing in the community, where we, in addition, serve families, which may be a single dad, as Jennifer has spoken with, or just a single male in itself. So we just not only do emergency shelter, which is the core of our work, but we also do a lot of permanent supportive housing in the community. So any given night at the local shelter, we're housing about 50 to 55 women and children, and in the community. First Light's on call 24 hours, 7 days a week. So those folks that are in our permanent supportive housing, they can call shelter at 2 o'clock in the morning, and if they're in a crisis, and actually get a live person on the phone versus a recording, which is very, very important to have available with the people that we serve, not just in our permanent supportive housing, but also in our rapid rehousing program as well. At the main shelter, which we originate from, we provide weekly group sessions for those persons in shelter. We also offer individual counseling by a certified licensed counselor that does counseling with us. We provide just a whole array of services as it relates to medical and mental health. We have mobile medical that comes every week, which is a godsend. And it's if you've ever had to take public transit to get places, sometimes our ladies have to take 2 or 3 buses to get to a doctor's appointment. But we have that mobile care that comes every week, in addition to preventive services, STI testing, AIDS testing. We partnered with local substance abuse programs that come to us twice a week and do those assessments and pick people up to take them to care and to treatment, those that want to do that. So we provide just not emergency shelter, but also just an array and a whole gamut of services to those folks that are in shelter, but also to people who are in housing. And I tell people homelessness has no zip code. It has no occupational status. A person can find themselves homeless for different reasons. And I'm glad that we've been there 40 years in our present building, almost 25 years, doing the work that we do every day. We run a $2.3 million budget, and we have to raise over 1.5 of those funds throughout our community. So we have a couple fundraisers a year to help get those funds in, but we rely highly on our community to help us, whether that's churches and organizations, to come in to not only provide financial support, because we have to keep the lights on, but we have over 1,000 volunteers in our building in any given year providing meals every night, which is done by volunteers, as well as lunches and sometimes breakfast. So we not only just provide emergency shelter, but we provide opportunities for our communities to be a part of the work that we do every day. Is there any questions?
Okay, thank you. Madam Pro Tem?
Yes, thank you very much. I did just want to clarify, when you said the mobile care, who provides that? Who brings that over?
Sure,
for you?
ARMS.
ARMS, thank you. I missed that part. And your funding, it's all, like you said, you have a $2.3 million operating budget.
Correct.
And how much of that you have to go out and raise the funds?
So we get about 1.1 from HUD for our supportive housing. The rest we have to raise. We get money from our ESG CDBG City, as well as county ESG CDBG, which total about $150,000.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing this information.
Thank you.
Councilor Abbott?
You said you got 1.1 million from HUD, and what were the other 2 funding sources?
We get funding from our city ESG and CDBG, as well as the county CDBG and ESG. And the rest of our funds come from foundations or grants and fundraisers, churches, individuals.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And here's my card if y'all want to reach out to me.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, who's next?
Good afternoon, Council.
Good afternoon.
My name is Avery Rhodes, and I am the Executive Director at Community on the Rise. And I'm so honored to get to be here with y'all and share a little bit about the work that we do. We opened in 2020, about 3 months before the global pandemic, so I think our middle name is Flexibility. But our mission focuses on providing individuals experiencing homelessness with housing, employment, education, and healing around trauma. So we've got a couple of services that we offer that I'll dig into briefly, and then would love to hear your questions and conversation around those. So one of the primary outreach services that we provide is twice weekly ID clinics. So if people experiencing homelessness and poverty are without vital documents, there's not much you can do. You can't apply for housing. You can't get a job. You can't bank. You can't vote. And many times you can't even access vital health care. So we've been able to create a template and work with partners at the Jefferson County Health Department and ALEA to provide state IDs and licenses, birth certificates, and to walk people through the process of getting Social Security cards back. So a lot of case management around that and funding those documents as well, twice per week, every week. We have funded about 4,000 documents since 2020. So we're really proud of that, and we know and love so many of the folks in our homeless community, and many of them who've been able to move forward because of those vital documents. So another program that we have weekly is a drop-in day shelter where folks can come by, hang out with us. We are very relationship-oriented, very much interested in knowing people's stories, building trust and understanding what has happened to put folks in these particular circumstances, and then trying to help people move forward. We have a weekly community table that is a circle of encouragement and mental health support. We have mental health professionals come and help us. We talk in a circle very vulnerably with each other. We have volunteers come from many different places around the city, but also from Mountain Brook, Homewood, Shelby County, and we're all just sitting together in a circle around with people who may have also come from under bridges or shelters or down the street to talk about mental health, stress responses, things that may have happened in our background that are challenging to our experience now. So it's a really wonderful, vulnerable circle. And then the most important program that I'd like to share with you about is our comprehensive housing and employment program. And that serves women experiencing homelessness exclusively right now, but potentially we might be able to grow in a different direction one day. The way that works is that we are able to invite right now 3 women experiencing homelessness at a time into the residential home that we own. Everyone gets a private locking bedroom and then communal shared spaces, and they're able to live in that home for up to 2 years, rent and utility free, which builds a really great base of support, time to stabilize, time to plan and dream for your future, time to come out of survival mode and crisis mode, time to budget and save money, because along with their residential home, they also work for us at Community on the Rise in our Justice Enterprise. And our Justice Enterprise is a recycling plastic endeavor. We work specifically with number 5 polypropylene plastic, and I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but number 5 plastic is items like medicine bottles, sour cream containers, lots of lids and caps, microwavable trays, takeout containers that we get from local restaurants, and cups. It's actually the 3rd most common plastic that we use in our homes, and it's not readily recycled here in Birmingham. You know, we primarily recycle 1s and 2s, which are like water bottles and milk jugs. So the community can actually bring us number 5 plastics twice a week, and the women in our program train and learn to sort, shred, and melt these plastics into new items, sustainable, beautiful items that won't return to our waste cycle. So my necklace is an example. If you can see the little lightning bolt hanging down with the charms, that's recycled plastic that would have ended up in a trash can or in our rivers or streams, and survivors of homelessness created this. So we also make home decor items, coasters, and flower pots, and they're really beautiful. I'd love for you to come see our workshop sometime. So they earn a part-time income while working for us, living in the residential home, and they also receive supportive care during that time, which includes therapy and an individual life plan, and talk around what other barriers they may have, which could be anything from an interaction with the criminal justice system to hopeful reunification with children or family, and many, many other things as well. So last thing I'll say is that we are trying to become a survivor-led entity. And so in doing a 2-year program with women, many of those women are proving to be really wonderful leaders when they come through and heal and begin to thrive. So one of our survivor graduates now runs our ID program and is the coordinator of it. And we have 3 more employees right now who are hopefully moving in that direction. So our hope is that everyone gets long-term housing and either work outside of our organization or potentially a position of leadership within our organization once they graduate, because who better to work with vulnerable people than amazing, empowered women who have been where they have been before. So I'll end there and entertain any questions that you might have.
Okay, Madam Pro Tem.
Thank you again. Very useful information. It's very good to hear what the resources we have for our residents out there. I did want to ask about the residential home. Is this single women or is this women with children?
Only single women right now. And most of the women that we work with, if they do have children, they are not reunified at this time with them, or they may be adult. But we do have one woman right now who's just moved into a subsidized apartment, and she'll be reunified with her son in November. And that's been a long time in progress, and it's so exciting for us. But no children in the house right now.
Okay. And the other, while they're there, did you say what programs, do you try to get them in workforce development, or what, are you just trying to get them to get their personal lives together? Does it include workforce training and that type thing?
So it's definitely personal and trauma related, but the employment piece in which they learn and train around recycling plastics is really workforce development, because they're having to build skills around communication, conflict resolution, responsibility for spaces, cleanup, time management. But also we have groups that come in and visit us from schools, from churches, educational groups who want to know about what we're doing. And it is the survivors who lead them through that programming and teach them about the recycling, answer questions. So that's also a lot of workforce development there. By the time they wrap up with us, they have built a lot of skills that are great for going out into the community and getting a solid job.
And I'm a part of an organization, we have a target we call Enhance Our Environment. And I know last year we participated in, they had us to all bring our old medical prescription.
The prescription bottles?
Yes, and I kept thinking, what are they going to do with these? Are they going to reuse them? So I'm glad to see what the recycling of that does as an end product. So thank you.
Yes, those medicine bottles are beautiful colors for recycling, let me tell you. I never thought I'd look at plastic as in, ooh, how beautiful that would be as a necklace.
Right, right.
But here I am.
I love that. Okay, Councilor Abbott.
Very popular at Halloween for all those orange bottles that we all have. What did you say your name was?
My name's Avery Rhodes, Averyrhodes.
Thank you for that. So I'm just curious about this plastic thing. What is your source of number 5 plastic?
So our source is the city of Birmingham and anyone who wants to bring us number 5. So places, churches collect for us, individuals, a few schools collect for us, and a lot of people just collect it in their kitchen, and then when they've got a full bag, they bring it to us and drop it off. So we're recycling local number 5 plastic.
Well, you'll have to tell me where to drop it off, because I've been saving it in hopes that someone
Yeah.
would eventually do something.
We would
with
love
it.
for you to come visit us, and I will make sure that our address is on these forms that I leave for you.
Okay, good, thank you.
Mhm.
Because that's really cool. I mean, I like that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'll leave some paperwork right here, and I'll add address. Actually, I'm going to add addresses and drop them off in a minute so I don't stop anybody else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next organization.
I just wanted to point out something. Look at all these women behind me. We're all leaders of our homeless providers. There's lots of women.
I love it.
So my name is Nicole Boomhover, and I am the relatively new executive director of the Firehouse Shelter. We've been a lifeline for Birmingham's chronically homeless men since 1983. We provide essential services to over 5,000 of our most vulnerable individuals through a broad and comprehensive range of programs. Our mission is pretty simple, but it's powerful. It's to offer Birmingham men experiencing homelessness a nurturing environment, supportive services, and transformative opportunities to rebuild their lives. We are much like the women's shelter in that we provide many of the emergency shelter services and the like to the men that are from Birmingham. So we operate the only low barrier men's shelter, and we place no time limits on the length of stay, allowing us to meet them where they are. We do not have strict entry requirements such as sobriety, which allows us to accommodate the most vulnerable. It's most of our men's final stops. We address immediate needs, but also long-term challenges like chronic homelessness. About 67% of our clients or guests are chronically homeless, which means they've been homeless 4 or more times a year in the past 3 years, or spent at least 1 consecutive year living on the streets. A documented number of men, 35% of men self-document with having mental illness, but our best guesstimates is that it's most likely about 70% or 75%. About 90% of our men do move on from the shelter into permanent supportive housing, or they access critical medical or mental health or substance use services. So we call that success. Our key programs, obviously, is our emergency shelter, where we provide case management to those who want to pursue goals and work on a life plan. That is not a requirement to enter the shelter, but we're on a tiered system, so those who do want the case management services do get that. We have a very large day shelter which operates 5 days a week. That is open to anyone in the community, not just homeless men, and they have access to the showers and to restrooms, lockers, afternoon snack, and a clothing closet so they can get hygiene items and other items that they need to successfully live on the streets. We have a robust meal system where we provide 3 nutritious meals a day, and most of those meal slots are operated by volunteers in the community, especially the nighttime. We have a large number of volunteers from all over the city. We have a unique program called Moving Towards Change for those who identify with problems with mental health issues or with substance use issues, and those men are provided case management, support services, just a myriad of services to get them on their feet. Medication assistance, medical care, weekly, transportation, group therapy, art therapy. We provide literacy skills and GED preparation for those that want to go back to school or want to earn their GED rather, or want to improve their literacy. And we provide just as many men with permanent supportive housing in the community, in the surrounding communities. So we don't just operate the emergency shelter, but we also have about 115 permanent supportive beds, which are really, they are for medically chronic and mental health needs. And they must be, they must have a disability, obviously. So our most exciting for me, and it's the newest, and I guess it's exciting because we're the only site in Alabama to have a medical care, medical respite program. And that is only for 10 individuals. It could be 20 tomorrow, and if we have the room, but we're not. We're unlike, like everybody else, we're busting at the seams. We've already outgrown our new shelter, which was just 3 years ago built, and we could pop the top and serve that many more. But medical respite care is for the acute homeless, chronically acute medical conditions only. And our I would say average length of stay is 3 to 6 months, although some might be less and more. And these are for men that are really too sick to recover from an injury or a surgery or burns or anything you can think of, but not sick enough to remain in the hospital. And we see a lot of the need here in Birmingham. As far as our budget, we operate at just over $3.5 million each year, and $2.2 million is through grant funding, and we make up the remainder, $1.5 million through foundation grants, individual contributions, and the like. We do get money from the CDBG and ESG grants for the city of Birmingham that total about $100,000 a year. And that is for the emergency shelter.
Say how much?
It totals about $100,000 through both ESG and CDBG.
All right, Councilor Abbott, do you have any questions?
Well, I guess my question is always the same question I always ask is, what other cities are you going to and asking for money?
So we're not going to other cities per se because we only operate in Birmingham. We go through individuals and corporations in those cities because the city government doesn't like to fund a shelter that's not in Birmingham. We've found that. We have approached a couple of those cities that are just adjacent to us, and so we remain committed to working with individuals and corporations throughout those cities. We do, like every other shelter, get the transient population dropped off in our parking lot, along with those that have been discharged through the hospitals with nowhere to go. So we're facing those challenges as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Madam Pro Tem?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
I don't either. Thank you.
Sure.
That's very informative.
I'm going to leave y'all with some information and my card.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we only got 2 left, so 3, 2, 3. Sorry, I skipped somebody.
Good evening. My name is Perrin Carroll, and I'm the Executive Director of the Jimmy Hale Mission. Jimmy Hale has been operating in the city of Birmingham for 80 years now. We are a comprehensive service provider who provides all of our services free of charge to all that need. I'm going to echo what Nicole just said about the way that our service providers here work together. We collaborate. We try to meet monthly when we're not overwhelmed with the services that we're providing, and that's so that we can deliver the best level of services at the most efficient manner to those that need it the most. Jimmy Hill operates 3 facilities. Our downtown Shapora Men's Center is located just past Lost Furnace behind the waterworks. We are completing next week our renovation of our dormitory there so that we will now be able to provide services for 98 men at our downtown men's center. We also operate a rural men's center in the Hayden community in Blount County, our Royal Pines facility. And before you say, well, wait a minute, that's not in the city of Birmingham, let me tell you the resource that that provides to us and those that we serve. Many, many times, those that come to us come because of decisions, friends, or circumstances that they found themselves in here at home. The best path for them to break free of those influences that have landed them into homelessness is to try a fresh start outside the city of Birmingham. By having Royal Pines to offer that to the men in need is a tremendous resource for them to go to a different environment, away from those influences, and get their life back together. We also operate downtown on 5th Avenue North, right across from Bankhead Tower, our Jesse's Place Center for Women and Children. We can provide services for up to 30 women and children at Jesse's Place. So all in all, at Jimmy Hill Mission, we have capacity to serve 175 individuals at any given time. Unfortunately, we do tend to stay on a wait list all the time because the need is so great. All of our services are provided by certified counselors. They're certified through the National Coalition for Addiction Professionals. Our counselors hold either doctorate degrees in counseling, master's degrees in clinical mental health counseling, Christian counseling, or social work. Initially, when clients come to us seeking help, they enter our Reclaiming Hope program. They receive all housing, meals, medical care, etc. that they need, and that initial program lasts for 15 weeks. It is named Reclaiming Hope because reclaim means to retrieve or recover something that's been lost. And hope is that feeling of expectation or the desire for things to happen. We cannot change the trajectory of someone's life from life on the street unless we can reclaim hope for them. Our program centers on 5 pillars of health: physical health. Upon admission to our program, clients receive the medical appointment and dental appointment they need to get basic medical care started. We see so many chronic conditions from our friends on the street, such as high blood pressure or diabetes, that are so treatable, and the treatment of those conditions makes a significant health change in their lives so that they feel well enough to do other things to improve their situation. Mental health is our second pillar of health. All of our clients receive a mental health screening and then receive mental health treatment as may be appropriate for their particular condition. Then they receive ongoing one-on-one counseling by a certified counselor. Relational health. Many of those that we serve suffer from having lived in toxic relationships. So we offer anger management, parenting and family stabilization classes, as well as conflict resolution and relational counseling. Vocational. It is good to have a job for many reasons. Financially, of course, we all need money to live, but also for a sense of self-esteem and self-worth. So each of our campuses has an on-site learning center. In Birmingham, at our Shapura Men's Center and at Jesse's Place, our learning centers are staffed by Jeff State. So Jeff State instructors are actually coming on campus to teach everything from basic literacy, because some of our guests cannot read and write, to GED classes, to short-term work certificates that lead to real career-oriented living wage jobs. Through our learning centers, our clients at Jimmy Hale can earn a CDL license. They can be certified as a heavy equipment operator. They can be certified as a dental hygienist, paralegal. There's over 35, so there is such a wide variety of fields that individuals can enter into based upon their interests and aptitude. We also offer carpentry and trades training. At Royal Pines, Wallace State Community College staffs our learning center, and we offer the same resources there at Royal Pines for our guests there. And spiritual. Yes, our fifth pillar of health is spiritual, but I want to make it quite clear that Jimmy Hale is not an indoctrination factory. We offer services to everyone regardless of their faith. We regularly serve those who are Christian, Muslim, Jewish, agnostic, and atheist, and we serve them all with respect that our faith calls us to show our fellow human beings. We do offer 13 faith-based opportunities during the week that range from Celebrate Recovery to book studies to small groups to worship services. Our clients pick the ones that are meaningful to them and that they receive the most from. Graduates of our Reclaiming Hope program are encouraged to stay at Jimmy Hale and enter our Phase 2 program, our Continuum of Care program. In Continuum of Care, our full-time career coordinator works with clients to find jobs that they can enter and be successful in. They continue to live at Jimmy Hale while they either work full-time or work part-time and continue their education. We continue weekly group therapy and individual counseling. We provide financial literacy, and we provide all transportation needed to continue medical and mental health appointments, as well as transportation to and from work. After 4 to 6 months, our clients are generally ready for the next step, although we don't put a hard and fast line on that. And in the next phase, clients would take that next step into off-campus sponsored housing. We do have a housing complex here in Birmingham that we sponsor along with Alethea House, where clients can go and live there regardless of credit score and other things that would otherwise be a barrier to traditional housing. We have a recovery coach that lives on site, and we continue counseling and resources to them in this off-campus housing. We also have an off-campus community in the Hanceville area as well. In partnership with the City of Birmingham, the last 2 winters we have served as the city's warming station. Since 2022, there have been 76 nights of warming station with 9 24-hour round-the-clock warming stations where the temperatures never rose above freezing during the day. We average between 65 and 325 people per day in our warming stations. And that includes not only the homeless that are actually coming from the street, but also many of Birmingham's citizens who simply don't have the heating resources at home to be able to keep their home in a livable temperature in our most extreme days. I am very excited to bring you the news of the new property that we have launched in order to accommodate not only the warming station, but a year-round emergency shelter in the Jimmy Hale way. And that is not just to provide 3 hots and a cot to those in needs, but we will have a capacity in our general population for 90 guests. We'll also have 2 protected family rooms so that families would have a place to stay, particularly when you have small children. It's very uncomfortable to be in general population. We will offer showers, laundry, and social services. We will have consultation rooms where we will provide basic medical care. We will have legal teams that come, just as we do at Jimmy Hale now, to help people with those legal issues that are a barrier for them to re-enter society successfully. And we'll also have the ID services and things like that to meet those needs. We'll be applying for our building permit before the end of the year, and we'll break ground in 2025. So we appreciate the partnership with the City of Birmingham, and particularly the warming station. It's brought us back to our roots and really re-energized us to serve those in the greatest need. And yes, Councilor Abbott, we do seek funding from both the state and from other municipalities, and we will continue to do so.
And you said that's per night, you service 65 to 325 people for the warming station?
Just in the warming station, yes.
Oh, wow, okay.
That's in addition to our 175 program participants. Our overall budget is just a little over $6.2 million. Almost $4.1 million of those dollars goes directly to those in need. It doesn't include things like insurance and salaries and those type of expenses that are necessary.
Madam President, do you have any questions?
Well, thank you very much. I'm just very happy to hear. I know the Jimmy Hale mission has been a part of our community for, what you said, over 80 years. So I'm glad to see the continued service. I am very grateful for you mentioning the warming stations and how you're working with the city, or you've taken that over for us. So many people, when that first occurred, they thought, well, what's the city doing? Why is the city? And I don't know, for me, just listening at what you're doing, the wraparound, or the increased number of services that you have, from the general housing to you're also trying to help them with that, that's more than they would get over there at Boutwell for one night. So I'm just happy to see that, you're providing that. So thank you so much. I do know that I have an opportunity to come over and visit with you all very soon, so I look forward to that. So I'll save my questions for when I'm over there then, but thank you very much.
And we would invite you all to come. We would love to show you what we do at Jimmy Hale and how we help those in need. And one of the things that we made a concerted effort to do when we had any type of media contact is to make sure and let the public know that the city approached us because they do care so much about those that are in need, and that the city is supportive of this project, and it's a joint effort between Jimmy Hale and the city.
Madam Chair, I just have one more question. I know we just recently met with the Lieutenant Governor and talked about this package of recent legislation that includes a lot of items related to workforce development. And I know one of the obstacles or things that can challenge people when they're trying to get into workforce is transportation, childcare. So you did say, though, when they're in your programs on your on-site learning center, or when you have that, how does that work with transportation? Jeff State comes to them and then gives them the training. Now, do you assist them as well as once they've been trained, they can go out and get jobs, or how does that work?
Jeff State and Wallace State do come on campus to provide the training. We provide all transportation for all of our clients. First of all, obviously you do some classroom work in CDL, but then you've got to get to the trucks, to drive the trucks. We provide that transportation, or get to the bulldozers to do your field work. Then once our clients obtain employment, we provide all the transportation to and from work. And that's a six-figure program in and of itself. But transportation is such a barrier. You can't keep a job if you can't get to the job.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Wait a minute, Counselor Abbott, do you have any questions?
I do. I have one question. And that is on this new property for 90 people plus 2 family rooms, will that be on the Thomas School campus?
It'll actually be right across the street where the viaduct comes down and almost dead ends into our dormitory. Right to the left, there's a property right behind the Concordia. It has many storage units on it right now. We have just purchased that property to build there.
Okay, so the mini storage will go away and you'll build something new.
It will. It will be our new emergency shelter and warming station. And that's right at the end of the bus line right there at the Sloss bus pickup. So we feel like that's an excellent location for the shelter.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Who's next?
Good evening. I know y'all are ready to go home, so I'll try not to take too long.
You're fine.
I'm Lisa Isay with Bridge Ministries. I'm coming up on 24 years with the organization, housed at the fine Southside Baptist Church, where our office is located. As you all probably know, we primarily provide homelessness prevention rather than services directly to the homeless. We don't have shelter. However, we occasionally provide a voucher for a motel. One thing I was very interested in hearing this evening, and I'm so glad I did, was the new development of some options for people experiencing homelessness as the micro shelters, the wraparound services. So many of the people that we see and work with and try to be hospitable to who are on the homeless side of the spectrum, we don't have much we can do for them immediately, and it's really hard. To see people sleeping in the yard, sleeping in the driveway, in the doorway of the church. All of our member churches experience this to a degree. So having some options where we can at least discuss, hey, we've not only got services, but quickly can connect you to things that will be helpful. And it's not going to obviously solve the problem of homelessness immediately, but also having CAP available in the South Side is going to make a huge difference, I feel, and developing a partnership with them. But what I wanted to say to you is homelessness prevention is sort of a little tiny small aspect of the funding in our community, and specifically with the HUD funding that comes into the area. And all the shelters are wonderful. They do great work. But I think we've kind of lost our way on understanding the impact of prevention. And you all know, because the city of Birmingham participated in the Treasury and HUD funding for the pandemic. The city had a program, ERA Birmingham, which we were not part of, but we were part of and still are part of Jefferson County's ERA program. And now we are seeing city residents there as well. That program is about to wind down at the end of next month. And I will tell you that homelessness prevention need is not winding down. And we're a little nervous about it. We've got some promised HUD funding, a small amount, approximately half of what we asked for, to go forward for the city. But we're worried that there's not a recognition of the need. Specifically for types of needs that aren't covered by the HUD funding. The HUD funding is great, and we need a lot more of it, frankly. The amount that we've been allocated for this year will probably last between 2.5 and 3 months for our referrals. But what's not being addressed is the needs. For example, we've had mayor's office, councilors' offices, city, churches, hospitals call us when they discover someone, for example, their water's been off for a year or 6 months or more. We had one a couple of weeks ago. A city employee directed us to figure out what was going on. They had a $1,700 water bill before it was shut off. The problem was, even though they might have qualified for our ESG HUD funding, the bill was too old. You have to follow those rules really, really strictly. Another one, a couple of weeks earlier, was referred by a hospital. Their rent was $20 more than the HUD limit to help them with their rent. So even though we're going to try to help them, there's so many times when the really, really strict rules that we have to follow just can't be met. And when that happens, we call on the churches, but we also have to recognize that that's a huge need. Approximately half of our referrals come from hospitals. UAB, particularly St. Vincent's right now, Children's Hospital. We at one point had a board member who was a social work director actually at Children's, and she pointed out that many, many children remain in the hospital if they find out their water's off or their power's off or something has happened during the child's hospitalization. They can't go home, and technically they can't keep them in the hospital. So what do they do in a case like that? Well, they call us or other agencies. So every case that we see that we get a referral for isn't necessarily going to fit into that really specific, limited in amount and rules, HUD funding. So what we'd like to do, and I didn't bring you a budget today because I wanted to hear what everybody had to say about prevention. And so far, it's me. That is not to discount what everyone else is doing at all. But I want the city to consider giving us some more sustainable support to keep a prevention program going, because it builds our capacity. It also gives us the match that we have to have for our HUD funding. So that's very, very valuable. And it also is great for our churches who, you all know, want to work with people that call them or that they meet on the street or that walk up to their door and give them some kind of direction and services. And we provide that. If nothing else, we want to see those folks. So they come to us, and maybe we can't get them into shelter, but we can certainly get them to a type of service that will get them started on the way. And that's what we're really looking forward to building with CAP and eventually the micro shelter system too. So I am going to send you a proposal, but in the meantime, just to give you some numbers, our budget, our direct service budget, and direct service means paying people's bills, went from about $75,000 in 2019. Last year we did $1.6 million in homelessness prevention. That's the portion of bills we pay. That's not staff. Right now, the budget for this calendar year is $673,000. We may come in a little less than that because the ERAP funding is ending, but it'll be approximately that. So for next year, right now, I'm anticipating it'll only be about $200,000 to $220,000. That's a big drop. And I know the city's not going to replace that funding, but I want you to know that that represents a huge unmet need. That again, it's just because the money's going away doesn't mean the need goes away. So what I'd like to do is send you a proposal that will describe in more detail what regular budget support from the city could mean. Do y'all have any questions?
Can you repeat your name one more time?
Yes, it's Lisa, Lisa, Isay, Isay.
Okay. Madam President?
Yes, and where did you say you're located? I'm sorry, how do you operate out
Our
of?
office is Southside Baptist Church. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We're in the ministries building of Southside Baptist. And CAP has their bikes and trucks there. Yay!
And so can an individual just walk into you, or typically the majority of what your support is through referrals?
Yes, we do get people walk up, obviously.
Okay.
And what we try to do is go down and talk to them and see if we can come up and kind of give them an idea of what to do. But most of the time we send them to One Roof to get a referral to us. If we know they're not going to fit that, we just see what we can do. But yes, it's primarily referrals.
All right. Thank you for sharing this information. Thank you.
Any other
Councilor Abbott?
questions?
Yeah, the direct service budget is 1.6 million now?
Last year.
Last year.
That's what we spent in direct service last year.
Okay, so the 673,000 is this year?
This current year, yes.
And then next year,
It's gonna, well, based on the funding we see so far, it's gonna drop to about 220,000. That includes case managers, my salary, rent, insurance, so on.
wow.
And also another number that I didn't mention is, back when I started this, when dinosaurs roamed the earth, our typical amount of assistance that was needed to stop an eviction, for example, to keep somebody housed and out of shelter, was about $3,000 to $4,000 total. It's now about $7,000. That's if they reach the stage that they're actually being evicted. We want to get them before then, because that jumps the price way up.
And that's to keep them out of homelessness?
Pardon me?
That's to keep them out of homelessness?
Yes, yes, that's to stop the eviction, keep them housed for a short period of time, or help them find other housing. Anything else? I will give you something much more specific for your next meeting.
Thank you, I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it, yes. All right, thank you.
Good evening. When I started, it was going to be good afternoon, but I think we've moved past that. My name is Michelle Farley, and I'm with One Roof. Now, I know that you guys have heard from many of our homeless service providers, and you guys now are 100% certain of what everybody offers in every single agency, what their age limitations are, what their federal requirements are. You know all that, right? And you can recite it. That's my job. That is one of the jobs of One Roof, because we coordinate all of these services. Basically, we're the conduit through which all of these providers play well together. And most of the time they do. We're also the ones that have the data that helps you guys, Jefferson County and surrounding municipalities, make data-driven decisions. And I'm sorry that I didn't quite understand the assignment. I would have come with more handouts for you guys, but I'm just going to be real brief. The major thing we do is we help people find the service they need. I understand that we have 211, but if you call 211 and say, I'm homeless, their response is to give you Firehouse, First Light, Pathways, AIDS Alabama, Bridge Ministries, and on and on. You call us, and we don't start giving information. We start asking questions.
Yeah.
Questions: how much do you make? What does your family look like? How many resources have you tried? Have you talked to your church? Have you gone to the pawn shop? And I'm so sorry that we have to say that, but that's one of the things that we do with our clients, is what have you done? You have a 16-year-old in the house. Are they working? Can we help you figure out where to get them a job? One of the things that we do is not just with clients. It's also with our agencies. Because, Councilor Abbott, you asked where do they go for funding? Well, the primary funding that our agencies get from the City of Birmingham is CDBG and ESG. The majority of the municipalities surrounding our area don't get ESG. So we can't go to them for funding. And some of them don't even get CDBG. So we can't go to them for that either. So that's what we help agencies do, is figure out some of the times with the regulations around the federal funding. We also work really hard to help them find other funding. We're trying desperately right now to do that. Our major job, or what I consider my job, is that we compete for the HUD Continuum of Care funding. Last year, we competed and successfully won $10.3 million. If we didn't have that, there would be another 500 to 700 people that would not be housed. We also try to compete to bring in new dollars. We're working right now on brand new HUD money to build housing that is desperately needed. Actually, we're trying not to build, we're trying to reuse. I'm not going to talk to you about the hotels I have in mind. But we want to reuse what is already there, which assists the city with blight. It's cheaper to house. It's done far more quickly. And sometimes our single folks don't need more than one room. But we know that because we have the data to prove it. That's our homeless management information system. And I didn't even come with those statistics. I was only going to talk about coordinated entry, which you fund, some funding, and then our planning, which you also fund. Coordinated entry is required by HUD. There is no option. You don't go into any federally funded program unless you go through coordinated entry first, because we're measuring vulnerability. There are people who think they're vulnerable, but when you compare them to somebody who's been on the street for 10 years, and by the way, I have pictures of someone that we just got into housing. She'd been basically living at the Boutwell for 10 years. And what's more, because she has keys to her new apartment, the person with her who swore they would never take advantage of services is also now working with our street outreach team. So we're the data people. We do run a 4-person street outreach team. It's not like other outreach teams. In fact, we also coordinate other street outreach teams. So anybody that runs outreach, we collaborate with monthly to make sure we're not duplicating efforts. I'm going to be quiet because y'all have heard homelessness until you don't want to hear it anymore. I just want to leave you with one tiny little thing. Our homeless numbers are going up, and it's because supply of affordable, decent, safe, and accessible housing is not going up. For every $100 that your median rent increases, some statistics will tell you that homelessness also increases by 9%. That's 9% for every $100. So I love it that we're developing $1 million lofts. I can look at them and wave and wish. But we've got to have housing for the people who don't have $1,100 for the cheapest rent. Their entire monthly check is $920. So y'all want to know any statistics? I'll give them to you. I'll be happy to talk to you about the tremendous amount of decrease that we've seen in veterans. I'll talk to you about the increase in those 55 and older. I'll be happy to give you number after number after number. Sometimes those just aren't as sexy as telling you about the person that our street outreach team just connected with housing. What questions?
Okay, I'll let the committee members go first. Counselor Abbott?
You're right, I'm worn out.
Understand. I would be too. I don't know how you do it.
And a little bit depressed.
But you should not be depressed. I am so excited about some things that are going on in community development that I just don't know how to specify, because we've got somebody there that is enthusiastic and understands that homelessness is not just people living in the park. This is a public health issue. Y'all, you may not want to know this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. We partner with people like Jefferson County Department of Health. We partner with the police. We partner with all kinds of folks. Why do we partner with the health department? because we found out that our clients, some of them, were using Walmart bags as condoms. Now, you tell me that homelessness is not a public health issue, because it is. Okay? So I know you're worn out, and I'll be happy to just answer questions today, tomorrow, or the next day. I would love it, since we're in the middle of competition, if you give me till at least the end of October, but that's okay. I'll do it tomorrow if need be.
We may just have to see you come another time, Madam Pro Tem.
Well, thank you very much. As a former board member for One Roof, just grateful for the service that you provide and how you are connecting everyone. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. So say for instance, we have an encampment, right, that we see in our district. Who do we call?
My suggestion would be that you call Elena Melton. Elena is coordinating all of the, and I'm sorry, Elena, I apologize. But let me talk to you a minute about encampments. Encampments exist because there's no housing. And people, you've heard about emergency shelters, you've heard about prevention, you've heard about all of those things. We are short more than 300 emergency shelter beds, but I don't want you to develop or help us develop 300 emergency shelter beds. We need the housing. Encampments exist because of a lack of housing. I understand that encampments are ugly, that nobody wants them there. I don't want them on my front porch either. However, we've got to continue a coordinated effort. If we go through and clear those encampments without the residents in there knowing and having a chance to move, we can destroy all of the documents that our providers have worked hard. It costs a lot of money to clear an encampment. But if my folks, if my street outreach team is working with them, if Community on the Rise is working with them for documents, we can move them permanently at some point.
Okay, that's helpful. Because I know we call Elena, but sometimes we don't know the specific organization to contact, and it seems like it's...
There's not, because I would love to say call us. Our street outreach covers 3 counties. Our 4-person street outreach covers all of Jefferson, Shelby, and St. Clair County.
Oh, wow.
We run that program, which is part of coordinated entry. This year will be a $115,000 deficit. And at this moment, I'm not sure where it's coming from. Okay? Let me be real clear. But we can't not do that. But our street outreach is not crisis intervention. You heard crisis intervention described earlier by community development as part of what Urban Alchemy plans to do. That's a whole different ballgame. And so eventually, I hope that we can say, please call Urban Alchemy. But right now, it's Elena, and she may pass it along to us. She may pass it along to somebody else.
Okay.
And I'm sorry that I couldn't give you a better answer for that.
No, it's okay. I do really appreciate everybody that came out. A lot of times we don't, you're good. A lot of times we don't know the service. We have a little snapshot of it, but like I learned so much more about what your organizations offer. I'm so proud that you all operate in the city. So it helps me to be empowered to help other people, because I did have somebody that was homeless and they just showed up for a program I was in and was asking for help. And so now I know that it was a woman. Now I know I should have directed her to a number of other shelters as well. So I really appreciate it. And then sometimes we have to control the narrative, because you guys are doing a good job. And a lot of times there's a negative narrative that there aren't any real services out there, and there are. So I really personally thank you for what you do. Do you guys have any remarks before we adjourn? I know y'all are tired.
Tiredness, but I would like to say that I do appreciate the work everyone does. You're doing God's work. I'm not doing God's work. I'm doing some other kind of work, because I don't know if I've got the constitution to do what you do. So I'm very appreciative, and poor old Elena back there, she's hiding behind those other guys from community development, and it doesn't do you any good, Elena, you're not really hidden. But I do appreciate it, and I have, as usual, taken voluminous notes, but I'm sure I'll have lots of questions. It seems to me that we need to create a directory so that
I agree.
we on the council.
Can you send it to us?
Well, good.
It's on your website? Okay, gotcha.
We need a copy.
It's on the website and it's updated constantly, so I don't want to give you a hard copy.
Okay, well,
I want you to have current copy.
okay, on One Roof's website.
Yes, ma'am, oneroofonline.org, and you just look to community resources. And if all else fails, you call us, and we'll figure it out.
OneRoofOnline.org.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I like the fact that you say it's updated all the time, because usually if you have a paper document, it's got little scribbles all in the margins where everything has changed, including the names of the
Right.
people who are in charge. So thank you.
Madam President.
Thank you as well. Appreciate all the information. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Community development, do y'all have anything else?
It's also on our website.
Oh, it's on your website too? Okay, gotcha.
We have all of their resources on our website, as well as the hydration map, so that people, participants, can get those resources there.
Okay.
Of course, you're on the city's website, so we'll have to search and search and search and search.
I'm gonna have to go with Counselor Abbott. I was looking for something on the city website. I said, man, it's a little complicated, but
You get so frustrated, you just quit.
yeah,
But they're working on it.
they are working on. Okay.
They're working on it.
Well, there's a motion for. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you, everyone.